September 2nd. Coach, maybe open up a statement just about how camp is going so far, and then we'll take some questions.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate you guys coming out and seeing us again this time of the year, and always an exciting time as we, just kind of take the next steps and continue to push our team forward to this game opener coming up against Wisconsin in 2.5 weeks. I think from a cultural standpoint, from a mental standpoint, our team is in what I could say the best place that we've been in since I've been here as the head football coach. You have so many guys that we have now going into our season 3 together. I think you have established time and trust, and we, from a cultural standpoint, can see things the exact same way. And with Gabe Wallace and Sean Dolak and Mike Washington, and there's a number of guys where you feel like, hey, these guys, they've been with you for a while, and you see that in practice, you see that in the hallways, you see that in the leadership in the groups, and that's always a healthy thing. It's always a great thing, and you're seeing guys step up. As most teams do year after year, you're going to have new faces and new bodies, and I think the onboarding process over the months of February, March, April, into spring football, and the newcomers we had over the summertime in June have been adapting to our culture, who we are, how we do things, and I think it's been a smooth process, as smooth as I feel like it could have gone with having as many new guys, with another really good recruiting class, and those older guys now, as much as you're leading them, they are now leading your younger guys, which is very, very valuable. From an on-the-field standpoint, obviously, we were able to bring in DJ Mangus at offensive coordinator as a coach that we're extremely excited about, the leadership that he's provided, the culture that he's built on that offensive side of the ball, being able to be multiple, being able to be diverse and do a lot of things with the playmakers that we feel like we have. We got to continue to build where we are schematically, but I think we're on track and on pace thus far through training camp. Robert Wright, our defensive coordinator that we brought in, Robert and I have experience together from Texas A&M. We work together. I've known Robert for a number of years. He's young, he's sharp, he's bright, and he understands me, understands us, understands our system, and he's doing a phenomenal job just leading that defensive side of the ball with those older veteran guys like Sean, Damon, Marcus Fuqua, that have consistency through from a schematic standpoint. We were able to, obviously bring back Alex McNulty, who's an extremely big win, another year, Special Teams Player of the Year in the Mid-American Conference. Excited about how he's kicking it. He's just been on. He provides points. He provides confidence in our team. He provides us multiple ways to be dynamic and score points, and really love what he's doing in the kicking game. Anthony Veneri's back punting the ball, obviously, from last year. He's in a heated battle for that job with Jackson Baltar, who's a returning guy for us. But all in all, it's right now we're in an evaluation mode of our roster. We're being able to kind of move a guy around, see who's going to do what, see who's going to take ownership in certain positions. Probably like a lot of rosters right now in college football, we'll turn the corner. We'll scrimmage this Saturday. We'll turn the corner next week, do a little self-scout, look at ourselves, and then we're really on to Wisconsin and game prep for the next week and a half. So day-by-day approach. I know you guys probably got a lot of questions, a lot of things on your mind you want to ask, but I feel like I'm really pleased with where we are as a culture, as a program right now.
Saturday you had your first inter-squad scrimmage. What kind of clarity did that give you and your staff as far as those roster decisions, replacing the secondary,
right,
determining a number 2 quarterback?
Well, I think when you look at your roster, everyone always pays attention to maybe who's going to start, who's the first guy out there. Well, when you play in extended seasons, what you learn is you need really depth, and you need to continue to raise the maybe that third or fourth or fifth string guy. And how do you improve not just your top 11 or top 22 or top 25 OD and ST, but how do you improve your top 50, your top 60? How do we get maybe our bottom 20 to play better? We don't know throughout the course of a season who's going to be the guy that we're counting on to step up and make plays. So from an on the field standpoint, I was pleased to see maybe some unlikely guys step up get some reps, execute their assignments in a healthy way. And when you do a small job right, we can give you more responsibility because we're going to need the bodies for the type of season that we want to have and the approach that we're going to need. I think from a returning starter standpoint, it's always good when your best players are playing well and playing good and playing solid and making plays. And I think that's certainly been the case. You know, obviously Cole Snyder at quarterback. You got Isaiah Wright back starting, Gabe Wallace back starting, Adon Palese, who's played multiple reps, that's going to be able to plug in there at the O-line as well. You look at our running backs with Ron Cook and Mike Washington and Al Jay. We got those guys back. We were able to recruit a really good class of backs that we were able to get reps to in the scrimmage and see what they were going to be able to do. We brought in a number of tight ends. We have all the tight ends that we're going to see this year all new. They all came in from different places and JUCO and transfer. And, you know, we had 3 guys last year that played primarily for us. They exhausted eligibility. So you're going to see some new faces there. We feel like we're talented there, just unproven. So I think there's going to be some guys that catch some people's attention throughout the season that maybe we don't know who they are now, but we will soon. And on the outside and the perimeter, I'm excited. You know, you lose Justin Marshall, you lose Keon Williams, 2 big-time guys for us. Love those 2 guys. But I'm really excited about where we are from an athleticism standpoint on our wide receiver group. Coach Kevin Sherman has done a phenomenal job in recruiting and developing, and I'm excited about where these guys are. So I think when you look at ourselves objectively from the scrimmage, you know, returning starters playing well, new faces in there doing their job. Again, it's a process. We're going to continue to take it a day at a time, but it was a good sign, and I was pleased to see what we were able to do offensively.
Do you have a deadline or a timeline for when you want to make personnel decisions?
Yeah, I think we'll get a lot of clarity. You know, we'll scrimmage this coming up Saturday, and when we scrimmage Saturday, we'll spend some time in the next 24 to 48 hours after the scrimmage and really have some real conversations about who's doing what. When we move one guy to one position, how does it affect the others? You know, who's going to be the 4th snapper? Who's going to be the next guy in? Everyone wants to know your starting 5 offensive linemen. Let's talk about who 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is. So we're going to be able to, I think, objectively have those real conversations after this Saturday. And then we got to continue to develop throughout the season. The goal is, you know, you go into the season one way, but you got to continue to develop your roster all the way through. We remember in the bowl game, you know, Tajay Ahmed was our leading rusher. Well, he wasn't the guy rolling out there game 1 for us a year ago. So it's something to pay special attention to. You know, Jalen McNair started for us at nickel. Well, he didn't start the season off that way. Devin Grant started for us at safety. We won a bowl game. He didn't start the season off that way. So we take a lot of pride in our plan for development over the course of the season and really over 365 days a year. And we are always looking to find a way to get guys better.
So having to go that deep into the roster in that bowl game now that it's 6 months later, how much did that?
Yeah, great point, Jonah. I just think anytime you get the accumulated reps throughout bowl prep and to, you know, have a guy maybe new starting in a new position in a big time game and not only just get the reps but play well and win and then turn the corner. Obviously, I think there's a psychological confidence that takes place, but there's real reps and real development that happens over the course of time from our practice design and our plan for development in March and in April, and then we take advantage of the summertime with what we're allowed to do, and then you turn into August training camp. And as much as you're maybe sometimes having a new starter, maybe that is a first-time full-year starter, there's a lot of reps that have taken place from December all the way till August that you can see where the communication comes out. It adds for the transition to be a little bit smoother. Now, guys got to continue to play well. We have to be in the habit of building throughout the season and making jumps from week 1 to week 2. And I think we saw that happen to us last year. We played really good football throughout the month of October. We certainly have looked at ourselves in the month of November in terms of how we can continue to sustain things. We were able to finish and win our last 2 games. The team in that locker room right there has won the 7 out of the last 10 games that they've played in, and they're also bowl champs. And we got to turn the corner, and we got to form our identity for this 2023 team, lay out the roadmap for who we want to be, the things that we believe in, and then just build and grow one day at a time.
Did that bowl, the scenarios of the bowl game teach you some lessons about roster building and depth and, and maybe like I don't want to get caught like we got caught a little bit last year?
Paul, what it gave me was confirmation of something that Mike McCarthy taught me in Dallas when they went on a Super Bowl run. And one of the first weeks of training camp when we were in Dallas, he mentioned how many DBs played for him when they went on their Super Bowl run. It was about 12 deep into the roster, and how many offensive linemen played for him. I think it was 8 or 9. You can fact check it. And how much depth you have to have. And I remember learning and hearing that lesson in 2020. Certainly the experience of going through it gave me confirmation that, hey, all the things we talk about an unlikely hero, or maybe that 8th offensive lineman, or maybe that 5th running back, Tajay Ahmed, you never know when that guy's going to be called on. That's why we coach them all. We coach every single one of those guys on the roster. We get them all ready, and we make sure that they're game ready when the moment's needed. We don't know when it's going to be, so we coach them like it's every day.
What do you want your team's identity to be this season?
I think we want to build on what we were able to do from the 2022 season and just how we handle adversity. I think everything, I've never been through a football season where that it hasn't had its own share of adversity. Things come up. A guy may go down. I think from the time that we've been together, and you've known me, Rachel, and everybody in front of me, you've never seen me sit in front of you and make an excuse, complain, or try to dodge anything. We know seasons are built with adversity. How we handle that adversity is everything. I think from our effort base and the discipline that we play with, you look at our 2022 team, I think we were number 3 in least penalized teams in the Mid-American Conference, showing that on-the-field discipline to do what's needed in the moment. We want to continue to work on our extended plays, to be able to make big-time plays by our creativity, by our playmakers that we have, to be able to scheme and plan, get guys in one-on-one matchups, push the ball over the top, which I feel like that's another step that Cole took from the bowl game, being able to push the ball down the field to Justin Marshall. How can we continue to build on that and keep that going? And then from a defensive approach, just playing fundamentally sound, doing our job, setting edges, plugging your gaps, staying on top of routes. We were number 5 in the nation in takeaways. There's 4 teams out of 133 teams in the United States of America that got more takeaways than us. We were number 5 in the nation. We want to continue to be an attacking, downhill, aggressive style of play on the defensive side, but we also want to be able to be fundamentally sound, make sure that we can plug our gaps, set edges, and create big plays, negative plays on the defensive side of the ball. I think if you look at us from a situational aspect and how we handle third down and red zone and backed up in 2-minute training camp, we're getting a ton of work at that. And the word for us has been a lot of finish. I think the games when you saw us against Miami, Ohio, we finished. Toledo, we finished. Some big time games and big time moments. The season on the line against Akron, found a way to finish. And then we had some moments where we did not. What are the lessons that we can learn from those things and build and grow from them? So we look at ourselves extremely objectively. We look at ourselves from a lot of angles, because if we can talk through everything that we need to work on, build on what we do well, make some of these weaknesses that we had from a year ago, raise the floor with those things, we feel like we can continue with the development of our program, because we're looking to not just have a winning football team, we want to have a winning program.
When it comes to 2 of the guys you've shouted out so far, in Krupa and Dolak, and obviously the breakout seasons they had last year, the preseason recognitions they've already had, what do you think that says about not only the culture you said you've built in 3 years, but also the defensive development for guys under you?
I appreciate you mentioning guys like Marcus Fuqua, a guy like Sean Dolak. Okay, we get out of spring training, and there's a transfer portal window that's open. Any player can leave whenever they want. They can leave when they want. They can kind of come when they want. That's the rules, and that's how I set it up, how they've set up everything. If we've learned anything in our sports industry is the ability to adapt in the moment is critical. And I think also what's being shown right now is your culture. Your culture is being on display right in front of you. Well, why do we say that? Well, we turned the corner after spring. I'm not sure how many teams in the United States of America can say that they didn't have a single scholarship player. We had all 85 of them, not a single scholarship player went in the transfer portal for us. You mentioned a guy like Sean Dolak, certainly had a lot of opportunity being first team all Mid-American Conference, leading the nation in tackles. A lot of people probably would have liked for Sean to be on their team. Never blinked an eye, never had a moment where he doubted where he wanted to be and what we wanted to do together. You got Marcus Fuqua, led the nation in interceptions with 7. Not a player in college football had more interceptions than Marcus Fuqua. Well, he's on our roster in our locker room. He's one of our team leaders. So you have big time some guys. Cole Snyder threw for over 3,000 yards, right? Probably could have had plenty of opportunity. He's back. Damon Williams. These guys also have degrees in their hand, which I think also makes it even more vulnerable in terms of where they can go and be immediately eligible. For those guys to not only just come back, but be back and lead the way they do, it speaks of one word, and that's the team culture. It's the program culture. It's not any one individual. It's a collective group from our AD, Mark Allnut, all the way down to Kenyon, who's our janitor in our building, that we all have an aligned vision of how we see things. Everyone has a shared responsibility to that vision, and we're all working as hard as we can to build and protect that culture every day. I love the leaders we have in the locker room. I love the identity that we are building. We got to continue to build it every day. But certainly for me, leaning on guys like Marcus Fuqua, who's coming back after 2 years of playing here, going into year 3 with us. Sean Dolak, 2 years of being a starter, going into year 3 with us. Certainly have that senior leadership, and those guys playing well and leading certainly helps.
But on the flip side of that transfer portal, what does a guy like Zion Carter bring? What interests you about that type of guy?
I think if you look at our history in terms of the player acquisition, the guys that we have brought in, I think you can always say something on the front end, like maybe a ranking or a number. We've had back-to-back #1 ranked classes, but ask yourself, would we take Justin Marshall again? Yes. Would we take Keon Williams again? Yes. Would we take Jamin Muse again? Yes. Would we take Des Bassett again? Yes. I think not just recruiting, but from an evaluation standpoint, there's a science to it. There's an art to it. There's a gut to it. But we're identifying the right, not players, but the right people to bring in our building. And I think we've been in a really good sweet spot, whether the guy's been a one-year guy or a multi-year guy. Damon Williams was a junior college take that we had when we first took the job over 2 years ago over in the summer. Well, he's just a returning, a preseason first-team all-conference guy. So I just think, history is the best predictor of, when you can kind of look back and reverse engineer it. I mean, sometimes we get caught up in numbers, but we can ask ourselves pretty plainly, we've been able to hit on a lot of guys that we feel like we've been able to lean on. And I think even from some of the young guys like a Nick McMillan, who was a big recruiting win, excited to see what he's going to do this year coming up. And it all goes back to evaluation. Then you recruit, you develop, you retain, and it's a 365 thing. It's a whole holistic approach.
Did you do anything different?
Number 19 in the country. This week. What is it like to arrange a opponent on your schedule? Do you look at that as an opportunity? Do you look at that as a challenge? Do you look at that as something else?
So much respect for their coaching staff. Coach Fickle, what he's been able to do, obviously at Cincinnati, taking a team, group of 5 team, I think it was the first group of 5 team in the college football playoffs, played extremely well, extremely physical. You see high draft picks all over the place from their film from Cincinnati, and then certainly so much respect for the Wisconsin program in and of itself. It's a blue blood. It's a every year in and year out, they're going to be one of those top 10, top 15, top 20 type programs. I think it's a great experience anytime you get to measure yourself and on a national stage against highly ranked opponents on national TV. Certainly there's a psychological boost that occurs, but what we want to do is we know one moment in one game or one area or one thing is not going to define who we are. We just want to continue to grow and build. We know we have big picture goals in terms of what we want to accomplish. We put all of our energy on the standards and the approach that we have to have every single day to make those things true. So right now we're in the moment. As much as we know we have a Wisconsin coming up and another opponent coming up, so much of what we do and what we're doing in the month of August is internal. How can we do what we do better? How can we find ways to improve what we're doing a little bit better? How do we run a slant route a little bit better? We improve our daily process. How do we go about our schedule? What needs to get changed, adjusted? It's consistently looking at ourselves from a lot of different angles, and we'll turn the page at the time needed to continue to look outward in terms of what we have in front of us. But from a Wisconsin standpoint, I think it's going to be certainly a big challenge for us, and we're looking forward to it.
How do you feel about having better home road balance on the schedule, especially early on in the season?
A year ago I looked at our schedule and it just happened to lay out that way where we had the 5 home games, and in our mind, we told our team, guys, we're going to have to get ready for potentially 7, 8, 9 potential road games on the road away from our facility here. I think that's something that's kind of lost a little bit. Probably if you look at us last year, 7-3 over the last 10 games, but also a lot of those games were on the road and having to travel travel and action. It's great for national TV, but sometimes you got to have that turnaround and those things that all come along with it. A little bit more balance is always good, but just having a mindset that whatever the layout of that schedule is, whatever that opponent is, whatever that date is, that is what it is. Let's get our mind wrapped around what we have to do in the moment to be successful. We'll take all the home games we can get. Sometimes they balance out however they balance out, but we're looking forward to having the 6 this year, and hopefully we can do enough of what's needed to play some more on the road.
Obviously, this program has gotten in the habit of playing Big Ten for non-conference games for the last 5 years. As conferences realign and the Big Ten only gets bigger, is that still where you want this program to be competing?
We'll have healthy discussions with our athletic director, Mark Allnut, and what's in the best interest of our program, what's in the best interest of our student athletes. Obviously, there's a lot of components that factor in when you schedule a non-conference game. There is an underlining core value of, put them on the schedule, we'll go play anybody, anytime, anywhere. But we'll also want to be intelligently aggressive and smart in terms of how we lay it all out. We've been having great discussions about, future scheduling and what we can control, and we're looking forward to a great competition and battle against Wisconsin.
Earlier you mentioned Dom Felice. He's kind of an interesting story of his background of the walk-on and the position switch. What has he done to put himself in a position to be a starter on the offensive line?
Well, I think the consistency that he's handled the things that we've given him with, the maturity that he's shown. We have a very great track record of not giving. We don't give anyone scholarships here. We award for the work that guys put in, and I love doing it. Those scholarships, and we've been able to do that with a number of guys: an Evan Davis, a linebacker named Sean Dolak, a Dom Pelisi, guys that came to UB, had a vision, had a dream, had a lot of belief in themselves, put the work in. Love rewarding those guys with those scholarships whenever as soon as we can, when we have the ability to. Dom's certainly right in line with of all those things that we've talked about. Consistent, hardworking, selfless guy, team player, smart, productive. Sometimes you think walk on and you think, oh, he's, maybe gets notified as like, hey, he's a try hard or whatever those things are. I mean, these guys are players. They're big time players. They just happen to have a different path to get on scholarship. And anytime we see those guys that can step up, contribute to the team, we got no problem, no issues. We will have no hesitation in putting that scholarship on them and giving them what they deserve and what they've earned.
What do you think about it? Rachel mentioned these Big Ten games, the changing landscape in college football, where the MAC, Buffalo,
sure,
and all of that.
Sure, I know you think Big Ten is spreading, right? The conference is getting bigger, it's getting larger. Moving landscape of college football that we all know is ever changing, and again, when you look internally in terms of where you are, you're always just asking yourself. You try to reverse engineer, what's in the best interest of our program, what's in the best interest of our players. We always identifying areas that we recruit, a conversation we always have. But we also have a national brand here at UB. We are on national TV. Put a UB logo on and walk to an airport in Atlanta, walk to an airport in Dallas, walk to an airport in LA. I get stopped. So our brand is growing. So we want to be intelligent with who we schedule, but again, whatever that format is, and whoever's willing to work everything out, however it works itself out. Sometimes there's numbers involved, there's timing involved, there's vision and foresight involved in all those things. We certainly have no problem kind of going anywhere to play whoever that opponent is, because our brand is growing just like everyone else is promoting and growing their brand.
And other guys that maybe could have had opportunities to leave the program but stayed. You talked about Alex McNulty. What have you seen in him this spring and summer? Phenomenal. Right.
Rock star. Alex McNulty, I mean, he's a guy you wish you could sign him to like a 10-year contract. It doesn't work that way in college. He is steady. He's so steady. He's poised. You go all the way back a couple of years ago. You hit that field goal against Ohio to win the game. 2-minute drive into the game. We called the timeout. We sent him out there right down the middle, hits the field goal. And he's really been very consistent. I mean, he's reliable. He's dependable. I think he's working on his like 4th degree. He's just a rock star. He's going to be extremely successful. I think he's going to have a future kicking the ball, but he's going to be extremely successful with his personal life as well. He's a great example, great guy that others can look towards, of a process-driven guy. Team meeting starts at 7. Alex McNulty's in the meeting at 6:40. You know, you call everybody up. It's over with. Alex McNulty staying on the field to get extra work. So, you know, he's just a great model example, and he's genuine and humble, and he's a team guy, and you just kind of love when your best players are some of your best people.
Anything else for Coach?
Let's have a great year, guys. Great seeing you guys.